Hi, this is Vunu Nguyen. For those of you who are new to the channel, I'm the inventor of the Evolution Home Gym. If you're an inventor yourself and you want to bring your product to life and you just don't know where to start, this is the channel for you. So make sure to subscribe so you can follow me in my journey. In the last video, we walked through the Alibaba platform and we talked about some of the safeguards that are built in and some of the steps that you can take to give you a better chance of having a safe transaction with your Chinese supplier. They're not bulletproof, but they are a good step in the right direction. When I first introduced Alibaba, I said that with this platform today, anyone can get anything created or made at any time. By no means does it make it easy, but if you're the right person, and the right person in this context means that you're willing to do the due diligence and you have the patience, it can be done. But that really shouldn't come off as a surprise. This is really true of anybody who wants to succeed in business or in life in general. Truly, as I sit here and I reflect through my journey, these were really some of the best and most exciting parts of the entire process. Rarely did I know what to expect. I didn't have all of the answers, and to be honest, there were many days where I didn't even know what questions to ask. But man, oh man, did I learn a ton. As I sit here, it actually makes me euphoric thinking about all of the late night conversations, getting prototypes made, discussing specifications and minute details. And yes, even some of the hardships and the struggles were worth reflecting on and were super exciting. I'm not just saying that either. I promise you, rarely did I know what was next, but I simply embraced the process and I just figured it out as I went. Which is what I encourage of you. Don't let this fear of not knowing what's next, don't let this uncertainty stop you. I'm truly no more qualified than you are to do this. These were some of the craziest times. Not only was I navigating myself through a field that I was relatively unfamiliar with and educating myself as the issues came, I was still a full-time engineer. So not only was I aggressively teaching myself about Alibaba, I was also learning how to balance between having a full-time job that was 50 hours a week, personal training on the side, a full-time girlfriend, a very time-demanding family, and nightly conversations with China. Let's not forget the huge time change, which meant that a lot of my conversations with China started at 1 in the morning when I was getting up at 5 in the morning. So let's just say that sleep was a luxury, but I was driven and I was hungry. In video 9, The Evolution is Born, which I'll link right here for those of you who haven't seen it, I told you that I reached out to about 10 manufacturers, shortlisted to 5, had them each make prototypes, shortlisted to 3, flew to China, visited their shops, and I picked myself a business partner. I wish it were that linear. In fact, hardly anything was that linear. Nothing was straightforward. But all I could do was to execute due diligence to the best of my ability and channel as much patience as I could. But eventually, I saw a handful of prototypes that I was pleased with. So now I was presented with a fun decision. Do I have the prototype shipped here, or do I fly to China? Well, it turns out, to have all of the prototypes shipped here was much more expensive for me to fly to China myself. The story kind of writes itself. Did I know what I was getting myself into when I stepped onto the plane for the first time and flew to China? Hardly. Let me tell you one of my favorite stories of the entire process. Let me tell you about my first trip to China. To preface the story, let me start by saying that there will be times in business, and in life in general, I guess, where you simply don't know what you're getting yourself into. You've done all of the homework, you've taken every possible safeguard, but regardless of the due diligence, you still don't know what lies beyond. And really, the only way to find out is to literally step into the abyss. As I sat on that flight from LA to Shanghai, I had butterflies in my stomach. This is just human nature. I'm playing all of the possible outcomes, but really just the negative ones. What if this goes wrong? What if that goes wrong? Am I doing the right thing? Am I making a mistake? Well, just 2 hours into the flight, the pilot comes over the intercom and tells us that we have to turn around because we're experiencing electrical difficulties. That's great. Exactly what I wanted to hear. The problem was, we had enough gas in the plane to take us all the way across the Pacific, so we were too heavy to land. But apparently, it wasn't a big deal to expel all of the excess gas over the ocean. This was quite the sight to see when you're sitting right next to the wing. Check this out.
We'll probably get a free flight out of this. but I rushed to this flight.
On top of the flight back, it was another 10 hours before we made our second attempt across the Pacific. I missed my first series of meetings. I didn't know at the time if this was a big deal, but because I did have a series of meetings lined up, it was a cascading effect. One missed meeting led to another. Was this a sign of things to come? No, not necessarily, but believe it or not, it gets even better. The instant I stepped off the plane, I was hit with a big surprise. Just like in the movies, there was a gentleman standing there with a big sign with my name on it. I felt like a movie star. But that wasn't the surprise. We had arranged this. The surprise was this. The gentleman that I had spent the better part of the last 3 months talking to barely spoke any English. How the heck did this happen? Was I getting screwed, scammed? Who knows? This was definitely not what I expected. What I soon realized was that he, like many of these agents, learned how to read and write, but had very little opportunity to practice their conversational English. This didn't turn out to be the case for all of the agents, but it sure set a very interesting tone for a first trip in China. And ironically, he was the one that I ended up choosing to be my business partner. In the next video, I want to talk about how this turned into one of my biggest lessons, not just in business, but in life in general. See you next video. Make sure to subscribe so you can follow me in my evolution journey.